Yeah. Let's see if everyone is there. Um, anyways, if you are watching this because you're coming in from recording, thank you for being here. This is our 21st anniversary, 21st time we're doing this. And I hope that you find it uh, helpful to understanding Hayti, to understanding Jean-Jacques Desalin, its people, and what he did, and how important that was to bring a new moral high ground to planet Earth. So get yourself something to drink, a tea, and let's enjoy this presentation. So, most of you, I know those of you who've been with me for a very long time, know that I always try to do something new. I know I've done the military strategy, but I haven't done it in a long time. I will be doing another teach-in on Tuesday, November 18th, which is the exact anniversary of the battle that ended slavery and started a whole new moral high ground for human beings on planet Earth. And that's so important, right? Because even the Nazarene did not say that slavery was wrong. So people were doing it, and it was especially brutal when the Europeans got involved and kidnapped Africans from their homeland. The song that you just heard, the reason I chose it, it means big rock. And at this battle, Jean-Jacques Desalin had prepared so well. He knew his generals and soldiers so well. This was his command post. And I was trying to, let's see if I can, so he sat, they say it was a mountain, and he sat there essentially directing the battle. And hopefully I will be able to show you the map so you can see it. You all know I always start with the conch, because that's what started the battle. And that's what started the revolution. Before Jean-Jacques Desalin, let's see if I can, yeah, that's good. So before we got to November 18th, before we got to November 18th, we had 300 years of slavery, starting from 1503. The European tribes would go to Africa, create chaos as they do today in Haiti with the core group, have Africans fighting each other. It's classic, divide and conquer. And that's what they did in Africa, right? So they had one African selling another African in order to survive. You guys can see it right now in Haiti with Vive Nansan, right? They will do organ trafficking, human trafficking. The white man will allow them to do it because they control the air, land, and sea, and they control the manufacturing of guns until they get us to be so destroyed that we won't even think about freedom. And that's what makes it so important that Jean-Jacques Desalin and the men and women of the Haitian Revolution outwitted them all. And not only outwitted them all, but also beat the greatest armies of their time, right? So before we get to November 18th, the final battle of independence, we've beaten 50,000 Englishmen who came to try to bring slavery back to Haiti and take the colony for itself. And it's the Spanish. So now, after beating the British and the Spanish, okay, and it's important to understand that the European obviously is about deceit, right? So they were having their tribal warfare as they usually do. You can see it today in Ukraine and Israel, right, amongst themselves for oil and bling and domination, right? So at that time, during the Haitian Revolution, they, on August 14th, 1791, you all know, I talk about Bokaima Buinan, otherwise known as Wakaima. During that time, the Africans got together and started the revolution. Now, if you read their academics, they're always going to try to say is because, we have no brains, right? Èzili doesn't exist. Ogu doesn't exist, which is in our culture, Jean-Jacques Desalin. So it's what they say and what they do. And a lot of Haitian follow that. So there were what they call affranchis, which were free black at that time. About 40,000 of them when the war started in 1791. There were about 500,000 Africans, not including those who lived as maroons, and no one could count. And then there were about 30,000 European white men and women, thus enslaved or colonist, right? And within the free blacks, as we all know, right, a great deal of them were used to capture maroons, to maintain the system, right? Today, look at the Haitian police. They're trained by our enemies and they do nothing about Haitian security. But oh my God, just threaten the security of the oligarchy, of that bicentennial coup d'etat person named Aped. And all of a sudden, they find resources, right? But for the last 3 years of darkness, they can't, right? They can't do X, they can't do Y. They definitely can't do anything about that. And so we have that in our history. It's always happens. And the reason I do these teachings, it's so that you can see that vivre ensemble and frappe are not new, right? Because even as November 18th started, and Desalin and his generals, both mulatto and black, and these people were now veterans, right? They had spent 12 years fighting on behalf of France because France convinced them, as they will do today. The core group will convince you that they're about democracy. I hope that some of you have brains. But back then, there were maroons that were fighting. Now, these are victims, right? Victims of slavery. If they got caught, they had no rights, right? But just like Mr. Barbecue, they will kill and burn on behalf of the U.S. ambassador and the core group, and especially the Syrian, Lebanese, Arab slaveholders, who, of course, they brought to Haiti to substitute for the mulattoes. So that's kind of that template. I want you to see it. When you read their academic books, they're not going to say this to you, because when they write Haitian history, it's always about going into their archives and seeing what their slavers and colonists write. And that's Haitian history. You're learning something totally different when you come and we we do what we do here at the Free Hayti movement, which is uh, the teachings, 6 of them per year. And I'm going to try to make the comparisons so that you understand why it's important to know history. Because I heard someone told me anyways that this guy that I don't know, Emile Itse, whatever, some economist, probably going to be a candidate for the United States to be president of Haiti, but he said that we are not supposed to celebrate or talk about the ancestors or the lessons we learn and how to use it to get ourselves out of the darkness we are in today. And what is that darkness, people? You know, I talk about it all the time. It's those fake elections, fake democracy. It's plain dictatorship, right? We have a dictatorship right now of 9 presidents. Nobody but CARICOM in the United States, their stooges put them in. And that's what the US does. You all know that's what they do. Okay, so 1791, the Africans come together and they burn down all of the productions of the white man in the North. Okay, they had about in January 1791, the Milats, the mixed race uh, in the South, under slavery, every black person, or under white domination, every black person is less than the white, right? So even if you're a free black man, right, and you play basketball or something else that makes them money, right? Um, when they feel like it, at their whim, for instance, in Haiti, the mulatto women were absolutely not protected. If a white man had a desire for them, no matter if they were married, he would do what he wanted to do. And legally, there was no recourse. That's why you see a lot of mulatto women in the Haitian Revolution, like Marie Jeanne, Cécile Fatima, um, because if they walked to the local market and some white chick didn't like what they were wearing, she would get her whatever goons to rip it off of, this is like, let's say a rich mulatto woman, just rip it off of her in the middle of the public, and she would have no recourse. That is what November 18th changed forever. Haiti is the only place in the Americas where a black man could, or woman, after independence, could go to court and bring white people to court. Okay, so this is what. So now, like I said, in 1791, we start the war for independence. I read a lot of their books. They'll say like it's a book about Haiti, and really, it's a book about academics who want to show you all the books they've read because it's in their bibliography, and then they talk to each other, and then they call it Haitian history. All right. Before I go into the specific of the Battle of Vertières that I've prepared for you guys, um, I want to make sure that I can see the chat and that you guys are here. Let me just go to my channel, see what I see. See here, live. Okay, so that's that. That's good. Let me see if I can put it. All right. Okay, so you guys know I like to watch it so I know what's going on. So let me just do that. Okay. It's been 13 years. When the war began in 1791, and we burned all of their means of production, of making money off of our bodies and labor, and breeding black women like they were animals. right? If a man, if a black, and that's how white women made their money, right? They made their money sometimes having their husband, allowing their husbands to sleep or not sleep, to rape a African woman so that she can have more property. This is what Vertières stopped. This is what the generals I'm going to talk to you about. This is what they stopped. All right, folks. Um, please share the live. And those of you who are on Instagram, if you have any questions, then we're going to do that on YouTube. So go there because I can't do that right now. All right. So, um, what is the Battle of Vertières? Battle of Vertières is the final battle of the Haitian Revolution where the African warriors with the mixed generals and mixed women and black people all together, descendants of Africa, where descendants of Africa beat, like I said, three European powers to create what Desalin wanted, which was the empire of Hayti, which is all of the legend is it was 21 nations in Haiti. All those nations from Africa would have their place in Haiti. So we became an empire. Um, Obviously, you know the Neanderthal, along with the priests and Pétion, Boyer, and some black generals. Yayu, who was a good friend of Christophe and so on, wanted power. And so they assassinated Jean-Jacques Desalin. And it's still going on, right? Because I started out, as you know, as the lawyer for the first democratically elected president. And all these men, you know, if they, because they are so oppressed, the black men are black mixed and whole African men are so oppressed in the world. When they see another black man in Haiti reach a certain level, I mean, it's natural, but it's very destructive, especially in politics. They figure, oh, Aristide looks like me. I'm going to take him down so I can take his position, right? If there's 20,000 soldiers in Haiti, 19,000 of them are generals. This is what makes this battle something Haitian men need to look at, right? Because there were generals, and those generals were skilled fighters. And they decided to go for the common good. Since then, this is the glorious day, November 18th, of being Haïtien. From there, it becomes, in 2 years, it becomes about Pétion's power, the mulatto sons of France, right? Or it becomes about Henri Christophe plotting with Pétion to kill Jean-Jacques Desalin. That's what we have. And if we don't learn that lesson, we're going to be destroyed like Palmares. Palmares was the first republic um, before us, black, in Brazil. And it was there for 100 years. Today, you probably can't even hear it. So, hi, Èzili locked in. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. So let's look at this battle and why I think it's the most glorious day in Haitian history. Because, and that, okay, so we have, let me see what I have up here. Okay, so by November, okay, so just to give you a background, those of you don't know, so 1791 we start the war, African warriors. It was a Vodou war council that started it, right? With Mambo Inan, Dede Magritte, Cécile Fatima, Gran Brigitte, and the network that was left over from Macandal, right? And they fought for independence. At that time, the European tribes were fighting each other. England was fighting with France and all that. And they do that, of course, from time to time in those days, because, they want to take your property and say it's rightly theirs. At that time, 1791, they used the affranchis, lesson 1. They used what they call free blacks, right? You guys know the free blacks today, right? Barack Obama, he did nothing for the black world. All he did was be the leader of white supremacy. Susan Rice, Miss Hillary Clinton, right? These so-called liberal whites, right? Or these folks who have a position in the system of white supremacy. They will sell you out in order so that they can get titles and resources for themselves and not for the common good, right? So that's what happened in 1791. The governor of Okap got together a whole group of black men and women, black men, mixed and black, to crush the rebellion, right? And you're gonna see this continue and continue and continue, right? To this day, right? We have Vivant San, a whole other folks like the CPT, right? For the title of president, they will sell us out. So when they did that, some of them, never went back into slavery. And there was a great community of Maroons, right? Because one other lesson, let me start, right? I'm always talking about the sentient land, like Gwo Wòch, right? The big rock. What does that represent? Why did Jean-Jacques Desalin sit there, right? He was raised by women. This is a man who loved women, and he was he was just, right? He had many, many children. But when he became emperor, he told his wife, Marie Clervaux, that I have these children and I need them to have a legacy, so you have to adopt them. He didn't think that he could just make his own law, but he did that. And of course, I've always saying in the 1805 Constitution, he said a Haitian man is a good soldier, a good husband, a good father, and a good father, good husband, and above all, a good soldier. There's 4 of them. Anyways, so what kind of man did that? Let's look at that. Okay, let's look at what kind of man was there. Okay, so this is important, right? If the European tribes are losing, they will buy time until they can kill you and destroy you. And that's what they did in 1791, 92, 93, 94, because the planters, the rich white aristocratic folks in Hayti, they saw that the rich white aristocratic folk in America had gotten rid of their monarchy and were not subject to any taxes. So they thought, you know what, we're going to get independent. So they called, because they was having a revolution and the Republican ideas. Okay, don't mix that up for anything progressive. Okay, they wanted to get rid of their aristocracy. So some of the planters in Haiti asked England to come in. And England, obviously these people are always, they never have enough. They were right there in Jamaica. So they attacked. And then on the other side, the Spanish attacked. So seeing that they were going to lose their colony, right? Because they have the Africans in rebellion. They have England breathing down their necks to take the richest colony in the world, and then Spain. So what they did was use us. They said to the Africans, if you fight for us to keep this as a colony, right? Not something that the British take or the Spanish take, then we will give you your freedom. That's what they said, right? And Toussaint Louverture did that. Jean-Jacques Desalin did that. Augustin, um, Clervaux, Augustin Clervaux did that, right? Maupas. These are all generals who are going to see the deceit by November 18th of the European in his mind, right? He always has like plausible deniability, right? Remember, I always teach that Guinée flan means that what you say, what you do, and what you think is one. That's not his culture. He'll say one thing and mean the exact opposite. And because that's not his culture, but our culture, we're always shocked. So understand the two different cultures. That's why they keep holding us, because it's just not our culture. When they say a word, we understand nature. We understand what is, but he's fragmented and has a shattered soul. This is where we are. So what they said in 1794, and we had all of these Africans fighting for France, and now it's 1801, and Toussaint Louverture has kicked out 50,000 British, kicked out the Spanish, and owns for France the entire island. Now comes France. Oh no, we can't let Africans rule here. Toussaint wanted Black ruled colony for France. He wanted to get rid of slavery, keep rid of slavery, what the Africans had started in 1791, rid of slavery, but be a citizen of France. The difference between Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Desalin in 1802 is that now he knows that there's nothing these men say that they would do that's progressive. So it's 1802 February. Napoleon sends the biggest armada across the Americas to come to re-enslave your grands, put them back into slavery. They've had 13 years of relative freedom. They weren't really free. The freedom of the white man is not ever freedom, but it was better than slavery, right? They were sharecroppers. They were forced. They were more than, I guess, less than sharecroppers, because at least sharecroppers could go find jobs. They were forced. This was the freedom that they had in 1794. Okay, that's Sonthonax and these other white liberal kind of Clinton, Bill Clinton type people, right? They gave them freedom, supposedly, right? So they stopped, and they didn't have now to feed them. Okay? And they realized, oh my God, they don't have to feed them or give them food. But they have to work on the same plantation. They just spent all these years fighting not to be, plantation with people that had raped them, that had taken their babies and sold them. And that was the situation from 1794 and up to 1801, where Toussaint Louverture is governor general. He's managed to get rid of all the various representatives of France. And he's like, we're going to run this. And I promise you, I'm going to make it economically successful for you, France. So some people tell me sometimes it's about economics for the white man. It's not about racism. It is about racism. Napoleon said the only reason he sent that armada was because he did not want the advancement of the Black man. And that's very spiritual, right? Because they always fear genetic annihilation. And there's something wrong with whatever they call their souls, right? Because since they got out of Europe, they've just been killing and committing genocide, right? The first genocide they committed was Ana Kawuna's people, right? They gave her a choice: be a sexual slave or die. And she chose to die. That was The queen in 1492 that was in Haiti, Anakawuna, her husband, her brother, they all fought the European pedophile Christopher Columbus. So now, after 500 years, 300 years of African slavery, 500 years altogether since 1492, and we Africans were brought in 1503. You come to Vertières, okay? So when and the story is important for you to understand because a lot of it is happening all over again all the time, right? So the mulattoes always think that they're better, right? Because they're prized by both holy black men and the white man at various levels, right? So they send, their mulatto children to school in the diaspora. Okay, remember I always tell you the threat of the diaspora started Pétion and Boyer, and there was another black man, I forgot his name. And then remember I tell you some of the Maroons were also Conzés, right? Like Tellier, right? There was this black man who was a Maroon, right? Let's come to 1803, November. The Armada comes in February of 1802. At that time, Louverture was the master of the island, right? Desalin was his first lieutenant, right? Above everyone else, right? And they knew each other since children, right? Because his father, Toussaint Louverture, Gaoughinou, at the Breda plantation. And the Breda plantation is the first place that the war begins for the Battle of Vertières. So let me put a map here because I want you all to know. Okay, so I have this map. You can also find it so you can study it on my Twitter feed, okay? And so I'm gonna I want you to see why Jean-Jacques Desalin was a military genius. Let's see. So when the Armada comes in, Toussaint, Henri Christophe, who was general in the north, he's given the order, or he does it himself. He burns down, like they've been free. They've built wonderful edifices to themselves and houses and so on. He burns down the entire city of Cap Haïtien so that it can make it harder for the European to just take over, right? And so that's what happens. Okay, where is it? Okay, I want to show you this map, which is a little bit. So you see Breda down there, right? So Toussaint Louverture has been kidnapped out of Haiti with his whole entire family, and the cost that Suzanne Louverture paid for our freedom was horrendous. They raped, tortured, and the European is so the white guy, so the French in particular, it didn't matter to them what they were doing. I think I have it somewhere, and I think I've shown you guys before. If I can't find it, I mean, if I don't put it up, they tortured Mrs. Louverture so much and didn't think of us as human beings so much that they did a cartoon that they put in their newspapers of them torturing her. She's laying on her back and they're pulling her legs, her fingernails. That's what Vertières stopped. She never got to be returned back to Haiti. So when I do these things, I do them so I can lift up the name of Marie Suzanne Simone Baptiste. Because the torture she went to for you Haitians today to have your freedom and be able to still fight for it, it wouldn't be because it's because of women like that and how they suffered. She also lost her son. They took her 8 year Napoleon, and these grown ass men took a 8-year-old boy to France, essentially to hold him hostage so that they can force his father to accept slavery for Haiti. They did the same to the son of Clervaux. And Clervaux is, like I said, I'm always saying it, he's very interesting. He's a mixed race man who was free. He didn't have to fight. I admire that. He didn't have to fight for anybody. He was already free before the revolution, right? But in that time, you think yourself a citizen of France, and France is in trouble. England is about to come, so he fought. But then when he saw that the France was going back on its word, okay. So when Leclerc came, they lied and said they didn't come to re-enslave people, but his orders were to sow division, as you always do, and then deport the generals, right? Put them back into the army, have them fight to go get, like, say, the Maroons, or those who didn't agree to be under the rule of Leclerc. And so the generals under Toussaint Louverture, like Jean-Jacques Desalin, Henri, Christophe, Clervaux, all of them went into the French army. They weren't totally sure that they were going to re-enslave people. When they found out that Guadeloupe was re-enslaved, by that time they all defected. And when they defect, you have this. I want Haitians to study this era right here. You have people like Toussaint Louverture's, we have to say his name, right? Hyacinthe Moïse. He did not take orders to push the people back into this sharecropping arrangement on behalf of France. He did not agree with it, okay? And Toussaint Louverture ended up killing him because the people were rebelling and saying, I'm not going back to there. I'm not going to do that. And the generals, the black generals, and the mixed, not totally African generals, but black, with black genes, they, like, I think, who was the first? Who defected to the, so after they kidnapped Toussaint Louverture, the force was so overwhelming. Jean-Jacques Desalin told everybody, listen, okay, I'm going to buy myself some time, because he saw what the European does. And he had military training from an Agoji, right? And he knew Toussaint Louverture, who came from like that diplomatic space, because he was a royalist. His parents were royalists. So they thought of buying time to figure out how do they get rid of the French army, right? Altogether, 60,000 French soldiers came at various times. Altogether, that number is about 50 to 60,000, right? Some people say when they landed, there were about 23,000. Some people say it was 30,000. But we know that over the time that we fought, which was from February 1802 to November 18th, uh, there was about 50 to 60,000 European soldiers, well equipped, veterans of the Egyptian war. They had just conquered Europe. And honestly, Napoleon just wanted them to come because we were nobody. We were nothing. Just to come and rape as many as they want and loot. And that's what they did. Rape. And that's what militaries still do. As you all know, that when the UN came into Haiti, they left almost 500,000 children. Now, who are they? Children who were left with no fathers, who are part of gangs. That's what they do to us. So it's 1802. Christophe, Jean-Jacques, most of the generals, I'm going to tell you, this is their greatest days. They had defected to the French. Okay. And Clervaux, the mixed race guy who was free before this whole started, right? He said, like, he was like at some sort of a party with all the French soldiers, and he said, "Listen, if y'all going to do slavery again, I'm out of here." And that's kind of how they all felt. So when they realized that that's what they were doing, and they weren't just like soldiers in the army trying to bring order to a colony, and they could go back to living their affranchis lives. When he saw that, that's what he said. And let me see if I can tell you some of the generals. Okay, so by October of 1802, most of the generals that fought at Vertières and covered their history, their lineage with glory, fought for freedom, fought for independence of Haiti. So when they saw that armada, right? And then by May, they took out Toussaint Louverture. And then they just started killing people. And they charged Desalin and the folks that had joined the French army to go kill those who did not want to go back and be sharecroppers. And a lot of that happened in our history. And I want Haitians to talk about it, because if you don't, these academics will hold it over your head and say, "Oh no, they didn't really want freedom. They got the idea from some French enlightened slaveholder." That's what they'll tell you. So I want you to have that conversation about the February 1802 to October 1802, okay, and see what happened, okay, because it's really important that we face it. So now, October 1802, Jean-Jacques Desalin, Clervaux, Maupas, Henri Christophe, Ferrou, General Jacques Romain. These are going to be heroes in this fight I'm about to tell you about. They all leave the French army and declare war on them, okay? And said they are not going back into slavery, and the people they represent are not going back into slavery. I'm looking for that Black man today in Haiti that's going to say that, and that's going to fight for it, like Jean-Jacques Desalin, Clervaux, Maupas, and pay the price for it, right? Toussaint Louverture lost his 8-year-old son and his wife and his life. Clervaux, they killed his young son Rémi in Paris. They killed the son of Henri Christophe, Ferdinand, Francois Ferdinand Christophe, right? He was about the same age as Rémi, right? His father had money, had all kinds of resources in Haiti that he sent so that he can have his kid educated overseas. Okay, I want the Biden program people to hear me. There is no Santa Claus. They don't give you those scholarships for nothing. They don't give you that visa for nothing. They want you trained for their interests. And if you don't do their interests, they will kill your child, just like they kill Marie-Suzanne Louverture's child, the wife of Clervaux' child, and Marie-Louise Quadavid's 8-year-old son in France. That was Napoleon. So we say their name. I say a prayer for their soul, and I thank those children. So the war, when you were at war, your family is at risk. I mean, of course, now because we weren't human, supposedly, right? Everybody's at risk. Remember that, Haïtien, when you're making your decision so that you can have a title. So, how you guys doing? Let me look to see what y'all saying. Let me put a little music on, and I'm gonna get right into. Yeah, November 18th. I think I gave you enough background. Yes. How are you guys doing? Let's see what y'all saying. Oh my God. Let me see. Am I live on Facebook? I am going to. Hi, folks on Facebook. I'm going to share. Could you please share it for me? Hey, I'm not really good at like doing all that work, but share for me to all your friends, okay? People in put it in my history, my story. I'm just going to share for a minute, you guys. Get yourself. I hope you guys are part of the Free Haiti Movement page on Facebook. I would love to see 100,000 people there, please. So just go join. Just click. Like this video, share it, tell your friends. I truly appreciate it. Okay, let me see. Gwo Wòch, guys, right? I explained it to you. Let me see. All right. This is a little dark, but I'm going to tell you what it's supposed to mean. Okay, so it's November 17th, the day before. Toussaint is dead 5 months before, and they found this out. He died in April, right? In their cold mountains, right? And they were trying to find his money and so on. All the useful and great generals who gave us our freedom have defected from the French army. They no longer want to be citizens of France, right? Because France has no honor. He's killing children, right? They killed Clervaux' child. And then just a week before November 18th, these shameful men, right? I can't remember which general, right? Went to Clervaux to try to do their regular dance, divide and conquer. Because by now, guys know how much I love Jean-Jacques Desalin, right? This Ogu, that men of war, right? Nèg la guerre. He had figured out a way to beat the French. Okay. And this is another lesson that I say it all the time. 21 years. I'm a little need you all to hear, right? So he said, burnt the port cities, right? We're an island, and go inland. Africans don't speak literally only. There's so many different layers, right? Because we're original to planet Earth, people of the sun. His army was called people of the sun. Um, so, right? And he's been raised by Tant Toya. I'm on Tuesday. I'm going to be concentrating on the women of Vertières and the Haitian Revolution, but today not so much. But you all know, for instance, right? We call her Tant Toya. Why? Jean-Jacques Desalin called her that, and said that we suffered together. They were on the same plantation at one point, and then since he was a baby, she delivered him. She was the femme sage, or the that's the oral story. As I always say to you, there's no record in the misogynist Europeans' archives of women who fought in this war. None. Okay. But let me tell you what their roles were. Okay. Because there would be no Vertières if the women did not play their part. And I'm telling you the same things Haitians today, who pretty much look at Haitian women as brainless wives, right? That's all you think of them, right? But until you give the Haitian women the same respect that Jean-Jacques Desalin gave to Gran, his spiritual advisor, a woman from the Congo, Tant Toya from Dahomey, right? He made Marie-Jeanne his bodyguard the way that Umar Gaddafi did, right? The way that Henri Christophe, when he became king in Hayti, right? He saw all that. And he made the Dahomians his police, his agricultural people that went around making sure that the law was applied. No one's going to emphasize that for you. They'll look at you straight in your face and say, "Whoa, what did Haitian women do?" Well, who do you think fed these armies? As today, who do you think feeds Haiti? Who do you think is la Seclé? Who do you think is in the farms? It's mostly women. And it was women like Suzanne Louverture, who was a farmer, who supplied the army of Jean-Jacques Desalin. We know about Maricette de Brasil, who is called Défilé, very close to Desalin, right? She went everywhere he went in terms of war. She was there because she was a supplier for the army, his chief supplier. She had a barge and would go down wherever she needed to go to bring resources to the camp of Jean-Jacques Desalin. Okay. And when she had to fight, she fight. When she had to load a cannon, she loaded a cannon. When she had to do something for the artillery, she did something for the artillery. When the horse of the cavalry got sick or had to change their hoofs, whatever it was the women and the children. Right? Because in an army, I'm just making sure you get the artillery people, the cavalry. Who's the most famous cavalryman in Haiti? Come on, somebody put it in the chat. Okay. They're on horseback, give you a hint. They charge forward, right? The artillery bombards, right? With the cannons and so on. Soften the enemy, right? And then they bring in people like Kapwa Lamò and his cavalry of horsemen, who in this war were amazing. They lost so many people. Okay. So what you're seeing there, is November 17th, and Jean-Jacques Desalin and all of them, Henri Christophe, everybody, he wasn't Henri Christophe, excuse me, yeah. They meet Jean-Jacques Desalin at Kafulembe, right? They meet him and all of his conquering army. Okay, and that was the thing about Desalin. He could bring people together. Okay, because when they all defected, the people that they had been hurting on behalf of the French were like, hell no, I'm not going to take orders from you, right? And particularly, they did not like Henri Christophe because they felt that Henri Christophe, even though he was a black man, was very prejudiced toward African-born men. So the story is that Jean-Baptiste Sans Souci and Noël Prière, they were in the mountains raiding, right? Some of the things they did were good. Some of the things they did, so Desalin needed discipline. And he tried at first to talk to them because he understood. Yeah, I understand. We defected to the French. Of course, you're not going to trust us. But I already told you that at Cretapiero, that you could see me betray you 100 times. But I really buying time because I will betray the French 1,000 more times. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. Okay, but that's what he said. That's what he meant. Okay, he used 100. If I betray them. If you see me betray you 100 times, I'm going to betray the French 100 times. So he had told them that. Okay. So what do we have? And this is important because we have to fight. We're at war, Haitien. Okay. And the sentient land, and this is why I have Gwo Wòch, right? It's the rock. Okay. In Vodun, the 5 elements are characters in the Haitian Revolution. The 5 elements in our culture, the 5 elements are part of who we are. They're what allows you to manifest, right? Behind you, you see me in the fire, right? Okay. And you can see my water. I don't go anywhere without any of these things, right? My water, fire, earth. Wind, these, so it was the element of the earth because Haiti is 1 billion years old. It was a place, it's always been a very sacred place. And of course, Ayi means that, right? Land, my sacred homeland. We have mountains after mountains. What are you Haitians doing? That's your sentinel. That's your cover from every storm. The Maroons knew that. And they had little cities inside those mountains, in hot springs, in life from the earth with no GMOs in it. And yet you're trying to be this person, robot, this zombie who's educated to believe everything that the Abrahamic male cults tell you. Remember, I told you, they're not about Guinée Flan. And Guinée Flan is something that we have to discipline ourselves to do. So, Jean-Jacques Desalin had to settle and that's why he's so great. That's why Haitian men and women love him, right? So it was untenable, right? You have Henri Christophe, who supposedly have this mental colonization that, at least that's what Sans Souci said. Okay? I'm not saying it. That's what Noël Prière, who were African born. And remember, in the Haitian Revolution, most of the people there were African born. And there were 500,000 Africans, most born in Africa and have gone through the Middle Passage. That's why when I see these Europeans writing our books and deciding to call us people of color, for people who went through the Middle Passage and who understand what Black power is in terms of primordial space and ambadlo and all of that. But we're living in a time I don't understand how Haitians have not actually said anything about these new books coming out on Jean-Jacques Desalin and Henri Christophe. Okay, but you have my work if you want it. So he had to settle the argument with the Maroons, who never defected, and some who defected for like a week, and it's like, I don't trust these people. There was a voodooist, a big general, the hero of the Haitian November 18th. His name is Kapwa Lamò. He was a voodooist. He could alchemize materiality. So his word, while he was charging in his cavalry, was, anybody? Bullets are dust. Henri Christophe, on the other hand, they say, although many Haitians say that Dédé Magritte was his spiritual advisor. I want to keep that point right there, okay? Haitian men, how many of you have a independent woman who can give you advice? Each of those generals had one, and they respected it. And the one time Desalin did not listen to Marie-Jeanne or Gran Gitòn, he went to meet Pétion and got himself killed. But I would think, it's not written, okay? But I would think that after 13 years of fighting, after 13 years of any time you got hurt in war, you went to Dédé Magritte for help because she was known as a healer. You went to Gran Gitòn if you were having trauma from seeing so many deaths, because she was a spiritual healer. That they would be there at that final day. I'm placing them, like I told you, on Gwo Wòch, right? Marie-Jeanne, her husband died. She's the one, the mulatto in the back. And then you have another bicorn, a woman with kind of another. So they would be behind the rock watching the back of Jean-Jacques Desalin. And he had aides de camp, people who would run to the front lines to bring messages. Okay. And throughout, he was on top of a very big rock looking down at the fight, right? Cap-Haïtien is situated between the ocean, right? And then you have Cap-Haïtien, and right behind Cap-Haïtien is a line of mountains, okay? To get to Cap-Haïtien, there's an entrance. It's called Batay, right? And that entrance was guarded by about 7 different forts. Okay, so the Rochambeau, who succeeded Leclerc, he thought maybe he had a chance, but honestly, they never had a chance, because this was planned. And if women had anything to do with it, I know that, just like I'm here, and I understand Hayti, I understand what it means to fight. Gran Gitòn understood what Jean-Jacques Desalin was doing. So he was smoking his pipe, because he had set everything together already, right? Okay, so by now, most of Haiti is in the hands of General Jean-Jacques Desalin's army. Okay, how did he become general? This is what I'm saying to you, right? It's like right now we're talking about Muscadet. The only way he's going to be able to do anything is if the people take him and make him that. It's not because the European is going to do your election. So Desalin saw a problem, right? Because here it was, Noel Pierre and others did not want the defecting generals to become their leaders, because they're like, nah, you were just killing us the other day. No. But they respected Jean-Jacques Desalin as a soldier, right? Because Desalin was always with the people. He loved to dance. He would go to Vodou ceremonies. He had a rapport and a connection. So he had a meeting with them, and he said, listen, I'm going to hold this guy tight, Henri Christophe, but we need him. He's veteran. He knows the hills of Kapwa. He's lived here his whole entire life, and he's a good soldier. So because Desalin worked it out, Jean-Baptiste Sans Souci and Noel Pierre, and then he gave them their own section or division, right, to become, well, Henri Christophe wasn't having it, okay? So as soon as Desalin went back to Gwo, he called Sans Souci and Noel Pierre, he called, did I say Sans Souci? Yes, Jean-Baptiste Sans Souci to a meeting, and Jean-Baptiste brought his lieutenants, and he killed them all in an ambush, okay? That betrayal is something we need to talk about, because betrayals are always happening, but not for a good cause. And so that made Desalin have a real big problem, because he had just given an order that they had to work together. Toussaint Louverture had a young brother named Paul Louverture. And now that his older brother is dead, his nephew is gone, so many people gone, his sister-in-law kidnapped by Napoleon, right? He thought maybe, Sans Souci, not Sans Souci, Noel Pierre, because Noel Pierre just went nuts and started killing after they killed Jean-Baptiste, his partner. So Desalin came. No, before Desalin came up from Gwo to kind of squash this stuff. And the reason I'm saying this to you right now is divisions will not allow you to look outwards together. And that's what we need to do. We all need to bring all our personal things to the side and all look outwards together, right? And sometimes, like I said, it's hard because Sans Souci and Noel Pierre had a real reason. So, but Desalin came to win, and he was going to make the hard choices. So Noel Pierre is in Dantò. He has his maroons. Dantò was always known as a place with a lot of caves. Remember, Haïtien, I keep telling you, when there's a storm, fix those damn caves, okay? Because I can't say it, but okay. Yeah, shelter, village, away from this. We have the maroons. They live a life away from this European way of living. So, and it's important because that sets you for Vertières, right? Because this is not about France. This is within these Black men. There's this rivalry, okay? And we have to squash it before we can face the big enemy. And that's what Desalin did. And remember what I just told you, right? All that division in Haiti has to be squashed before we can face the core group and get our lands back and get our waterways back and start doing trade. We need that ally I keep telling you all about, right? Because when you don't have, you leverage an ally. So Desalin comes up from Gwo to just set this thing together because he don't got no time, okay? And what made him mad is that Paul Louverture, who thought that maybe Noel Pierre might listen to him and go for the common good and somehow deal with the trauma of seeing some of his personal people die at the hands of Henri Christophe and Desalin and people like that. He kills when Paul Louverture goes to see Noel Pierre. This is a Maroon who holds up in Dondon, right? And you have Rochambeau on the line right there, right? Trying to kill all of us. But then you have this internal thing going. So when that happened, Desalin came up with his army because he wasn't having it. And he got rid of Noel Pierre. These are whole hard decisions, right? So now everybody knows not to mess with Jean-Jacques Desalin, period, right? Because he says, we are going to unite to fight this enemy. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to let them take the coastal cities, and we're going to go inland to the mountains. Destroy all that they, take as more important than a human being. And that's what he did. So by the time the 17th of November comes along, Desalin has the entire island under his control, except for Mont Saint-Nicolas and Cap Haitien, Cap Haïtien, or Cap. And Cap Haitien is like, the biggest city of the French in the Americas. And they're well guarded, right? There's that mountain range and then out to sea. But there was a war that started because in 1801, when they came, the Treaty of I can't say the word, Amiens, had stopped the war between England and France. So that's why they were able to sell their armada to Hayti. But now you have, they're back at war again for what they're always at war for, right? Taking property and dominating each other and making the people just labor. So there was a general from Jamaica. I think his name was Commodore Loring. He was blocking France's access to the sea. So Rochambeau can't get any supplies. And Desalin, of course, whenever he takes a city, he was going to take that sailboat, right? They're not going to tell you that in the, the books you're reading. Okay. So he had access to the boats because, like I said, he had taken this all of southern and western Haiti. And now we are November 17th. And what you're seeing, so I already told you about Kafulembe. He met all his generals who were going to fight at Kafulembe. And then he did something very spiritual. He went to where Bwakayima started, and they got their orders between those two places. And so remember that, okay? And then when they started, the fight started at 4:00 in the morning at Breda, the place where Toussaint Louverture was enslaved. So everything has a meaning to the African. And Desalin had already given all his orders. Okay, so like I said, he had to prove himself. Yes, he had to do that. And now, but remember, in the background, you have all these like French priests there being spies in his camp and so on. Okay, but the women knew that because they were spies within their system, right? Jann could just put on a mulatto's dress and look like she was just a regular high city person and go into, some Rochambeau ball or whatever and spy. And they did that. There was a woman, let's say her name. I think it's Henrietta St. Mark. The French hung her. Okay. A mulatto who they said was giving ammunitions to remember I told you the women played that role. They would tell the army of the infantry, the people who shot and stuff and fought. Where munition depots were, they would tell them where supplies were, right? They provided them with the food. And as I was saying to you about Desalin, they call her a sutler in English language, but essentially she supplied his army. She had barges. And then when Marie Clervaux saw in the War of the South that Desalin had barges, she was like, I need one of those. Because as you all know, right, Marie Clervaux was the Red Cross before the Red Cross. Her job, she went to the battlefield and tried to help both wounded, the wounded of the French and the wounded of the independent army. That's what she was, right? So when someone tells you, what did Haitian women do? Who were they? They weren't there. They're not in the European books. You can give them this video. All right. So what are you guys saying? Anybody? Let me see. I am talking. All right. Give me a second. I'm gonna get some water. I'll be right back to November 18th.
Je te chante, Èzili, pour qu'un jour toutes les femmes se lèvent, la main ouverte, pour semer l'espoir. Èzili, nanano, Èzili, nanano. Senti ma paix monter, Sénégal, Haïti, Èzili nananoy, dis Èzili maîtresse foi d'Allah, mais grand caille moi dis nananoy, moi senti ma paix monter, Sénégal, tout pays. Compère général Jean-Baptiste, ou taloué Kaila, mesdames yo levé, pour y être yon amé yo, y'a pe coupé, collé yo. Dis mesdames yo doubout, pour y être yon amé yo.
Okay. I hope you guys can hear me. Saying something about. All right, so Desalin has united everybody, okay? And it was hard, but he did it because they respected him. And besides, Rochambeau was a raving lunatic. He kept sleeping and raping mulatto women. He especially liked them if they had a black husband. As a matter of fact, when he left with Mrs. So-and-so and Mrs. So-and-so because he had a harem. Okay. So you have, they have their assignments and the day has come. They've gone through Boakaima, probably talked to Mambo Inan, probably talked to Cécile Fatima, and all of those who began the Haitian Revolution. And it was a caravan because they knew if they lost, they were going to be exterminated. So all of them had something they had their lives to lose or their dignity, right? Because whatever the white man says to you or whatever he gives you, he's going to take your dignity. And I wish these Sepete Konzes understood that. But they sell their dignity in order what they think to survive. When we've got the mountains, we've got the earth, we've got the air, we've got all that we need, as Jean-Jacques Desalin said. We will be free for ourselves, by ourselves. But they don't understand that. So, I would think some of the women came with that caravan. Some historian says there were 15,000 soldiers and fighters that walked up from Lembe to the Cap-Haïtien entrance. Maggio says 27,000. So let's take his numbers. Imagine on the road, 27,000 people. Some on horses because cavalries, right? And they were all different armies because each one of these generals had 1,000, if they were a brigadier general, they had, more than 1,000 soldiers underneath them, So that's what you have. It's like deafening. Okay. And if you were still enslaved at some plantation and you saw this passing by, I'm sure many people just dropped that rake or whatever they had in their hands and said, you know what? Dignity is better than this. So that's what you have moving up to Cap-Haïtien. And let's say, like I said, we can't prove it, right? And, European, they're always asking you to prove something. And so are these stupid educated Haitians, right? Who've never read a book about the way they make things up and analyze it within their limited box of knowledge. So 27,000 people, some on horseback, most are walking, some just, got their pants and they have all of their veves for power painted on their chests, on their bodies, right? And there's that song I do all the time. I'm not going to do it today because I'm a little, so Grenadier à l'assaut, sa qui mourit zafé ya yo, nan pre maman, nan pre papa, sa qui mourit zafé ya yo. That was the song 27,000 Haitians sung. So here is the what do you call that? I wonder if I can just put that up there. Okay. Can you guys see the map? Okay. So at the bottom there you have Clervaux and Vernet, right? Generals. These are generals that are working together. Okay. So Desalin gave them their assignments. Can you imagine that in this world? Black men, successful Black men, all working together for one thing. I mean, that's so rare in this world. That's why this is such an important day. And I hope my Black brothers are hearing me, right? See what happened to Noël Prière and how Paul Louverture sacrificed himself to try to bring unity amongst Haitians and got himself killed for that. So we say his name today. And we understand Sans Souci, he was willing, but then Henri Christophe, what was his excuse? Why did he kill that man? And then Prière. So we have to, this is when you bring an Èzili Dantò in. This is when you bring, because it's bigger than us, right? These conflicts. And this is, so it was Gitòn. It was Dédé Magritte. They were able to calm their soul. So that you have Vertières. So, so what do we have at the bottom? So there's about 6-7 forts. Okay, I honestly, this is a little, I can't see it right. Well, I know what they are. Okay, so Breda, where Henri Christophe, Toussaint Louverture used to be enslaved, and then you have the most famous in Haitian in this battle, right? Charrier, right? Haitians say but charrier. Okay, so just look at it. Okay, I want you guys, because I took my time to get this ready for you. I'd appreciate it if you would really pay attention to these, right? So but charrier, that was the second fort. This is on the road, right? Remember I told you, you see to the right, you see the ocean, right? And then to the left, they're protected by the mountains. And you have to come in down right there by Haut du Cap, right? So you have Breda at Haut du Cap. Then the next French fort, armed to the teeth, Charrier, right? And then next to it is Vertières, which is the nerve center of the French army. That's why it's called the Battle of Vertières, okay? It's the nerve center of the French army. I think at that time, okay, I don't know what their armies was about. I don't really pay attention to them, but I think they said 7,500 soldiers were left out of their 60,000 or so, 50,000 that had come and got their butt kicks and sent to whatever hell they created. Obviously, we have Ambadlo Nagine, right? We don't have all that original sin stuff. So the forts, and who fought at those forts? Clervaux and Vernet attacked Fort Breda at 4:00 in the morning. Then you have Charrier. It's elevated fort, because lower than Charrier is Vertières. Probably the big mistake of the French army, but it was a real fort, and they had their reserves there. They had their ammunitions there. Okay. On the other side, you have, I think it's called Champagne, another stronghold. And then next to Vertières, if you guys are following me on the map, you have another fort called Saint-Michel, right? All leading to what you see that's called Barrière Bouteille, which is like, the French, they like when they create their cities, they have like kind of an Arc de Triomphe thing that's the entrance to the city. If you go to Haiti, each one of those entrance, and they used to are able to shut the doors at a certain time when you have curfew, so people can't enter the city. And that was the Barrière Bouteille that you see on that map right there. So Desalin's goal is to get to Barrière Bouteille so he can get to the city and bomb it to smithereens, free everybody. Okay. Maybe what the French didn't know. And I'm going to keep saying it until those who supposed to hear, the mountains. So the frontal offensive was right at the gate of those forts, right? Right before, after you pass Champagne, there's another fort called Bel Air, and then there's Barrière Bouteille, and there's another fort there. But the genius of Jean-Jacques Desalin, he's like, we know this, we know the mountains, okay? So while he was doing this frontal attack, and Monsieur Rochambeau was at Vertières, okay, watching them die, Henri Christophe and General Jacques Romain had that night on the 17th climb these mountains, okay? And their assignment from Jean-Jacques Desalin was to reach here. Now you see all these forts. You see this fort, Saint Martin, and then you see the battery of Mon. Like it's like a battery of different, mountains with different forts in there. There's like a Fort Destin. No reason to give you all those names. All you have to know is from behind, they climbed those mountains in the night of the 17th, so that the attack at Breda at 4 was matched by the attack of Henri Christophe and Jacques Romain in the northern offensive. Right? I caught, right? Okay. And their goal was to get here at this plantation for Destin. And those of you who know Henri Christophe's story, you know about Count Destin. Okay, who was the guy that picked him up back in the day when he was a young person in Grenada. That's how he became enslaved and brought him to Savannah to fight in 1779, the American Revolution. So Henri Christophe has been fighting his entire life. This man is seasoned warrior, okay? And he knows Cap-Haïtien, which is why Desalin said to the Maroons, listen, he knows he's an asset. But another person who knows those hills is Jacques Romain, General Jacques Romain, okay? He has been fighting Rochambeau, trying to take Cap-Haïtien since he defected to, because he comes from that area, okay? I want to tell you a little story about Jacques Romain. So you know who's in this offensive that I'm talking to you about. So there's the frontal offensive going for Vertières and Breda and up the road to try to get to the gate. And then there's the rear guard offensive. And the brilliant Jean-Jacques Desalin, and I'm looking for him, Haitian men. I'm looking for Ogu. Neg la guerre. He sent his best general. He didn't have to like them. They were his best generals, and it was the common good. He sent them to go behind the mountains. It's been raining. It's thundering because the earth knows us, right? Brise Montagne, for instance, is the most famous element at Bois Caïman. It's the breeze of the mountain breeze, right? Haitians have a way of seeing that element as being a character, a loi. Brise Montagne was there. It was storming. It was raining. And they were lugging their artillery up the back of those mountains. And at 4 a.m., when they all got there, and I'm talking about 10,000 men. Can you imagine? And maybe 10,000 in the front. Yes, 27,000 people. Okay. They get to the back of those mountains that you're seeing, and their goal is to get here. I don't know if you guys can see my arrow to get to right there, because Cap-Haïtien is right here, right? They have to get within cannon range of the city of Cap-Haïtien. So while Monsieur Rochambeau is here thinking he's protecting the city because he has all these forts along the way and they can't get past him, Jean-Jacques Desalin came to the rear and encircled them slaver colonists. Okay, so imagine that. All of a sudden, Rochambeau is getting fire from Breda because, Desalin did this in waves. Breda and Clervaux and their 2,000 troops, right? And then he hears, fighting in his back. And he's got like these forts that are answering. He's like, oh my God. Okay. I mean, we crushed them. That was the day This is the reason I say it was the greatest day, because what they were fighting for was important. Nothing is more important than abolishing slavery for human beings. So they brought a new higher ground. So Vernet, General André Vernet, and then you have Clervaux, and then Desalin smoking his pipe where he can actually see the entire road, right? Is sending his aide de camp with messages, right? To tell them, I need you to go here, I need you to do there, because he could see the entire board. All right. Okay, so Kapwa Lamò was general of the cavalry. They were all on horse. After they bombarded, then they would send the horse. And at a certain point in the morning, he sends his cavalry, led by the famous, the hero, the person whose name means courage, who's getting into all these forts, right? This rendering doesn't have them as accurate, but, because it's a little bit more artistic, so Batay is here, Vertières is here, but they're like closer together. So this, for those watching me, okay, I don't care, those like people who are gonna just copy my work and not give me credit, I'm not telling them the truth, but I'm telling you guys. You can see here, right, that this is how the forts were. Okay. And so these are logistically correct, whereas this is very artistic, but it has everything going up the road to get to right here, Cap-Haïtien. All right, so Desalin sends General Philippe, Daut, and General Gabart, Paul Gabart, to go to this fort, Champagne, right? That's why you see the name, right? And then at a certain point, he sees that, Kapwa Lamò is getting killed. But imagine, right? They're firing on him from here, from here, from here. He's trying to get up this road to get here. Okay? And this man has his horse and his whole cavalry, okay? And people are falling. The miracle is that the man at the head of the fight did not fall. Did not die. Okay, I think they say the numbers. Let me see if I can remember. The numbers of Haïtiens that died that day was about 1,200. A lot of them was from Kapwa Lamò's space, because he did the frontal attack. He wasn't hiding between artillery or any of that. That's what he was doing. Let me see if I could find an image file for you guys. And I will share it right now. Okay, so Kapwa, the legend is that he was fighting so hard, right? A cannonball hit his horse dead, and he just kept going forward. He kept going forward. Okay, and he was like, and then he looked back at his people, and he's like, en avant, en avant, en avant. That's why you will always see that in Haitian when they talk about Kapwa Lamò, en avant, en avant, en avant, right? The general of the cavalry. Okay, Kapwa Lamò came from Port-au-Paix. The Port-au-Paix loves him. He was always a voodooist, and he said while he was running, don't look at these. Don't look with your, physical eye. Go inside. These are dust. It's just dust falling on us. And that's what he kept saying. And that's why he survived. He survived all their fire, and he was at the head of the frontal attack. being bombarded by all the front forts there. Okay, let me just get you. So that was Kapwa Lamò. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's from Port-au-Paix. Desalin saw his courage, which was why he assigned him the hardest job. And whenever I think of Kapwa Lamò, there is you could find it on my Twitter. It's called Hayti the Rebel. I think of him, and every year I say this poem by one of our Èzili network members, Sanan. And, when I thought about when I made this picture, right? So his horse is fallen, right? And cannonball hit his hat. I mean, that's how close that came, right? Maybe just the trajectory of it, the wind of it had his hat. I mean, he was essentially running, not him, but the entire people, they were running into an inferno. Okay? An inferno. En avant, en avant. That's Kapwa Lamò, right? Bullets are dust, bullets are dust, bullets are dust. The poem, and I just took a little piece of it, when his hat flies off, because it's written in all his history books. The poem, it's called Hayti, the Rebel. I think of this man and his courage. What's written there is, alone I face the wrath of this world's power, because on November 18th, we were alone. We had no allies. Okay? We did that. They did that. These men are immortal to me, mistakes and all. I would not be here sharing anything about them if they had lost, because the French had drowned thousands and thousands of prisoners. When I say that it's very laughable that these Europeans keep talking about how Desalin, after the independence, he killed 3,000 white people, they say, that were in Haiti, right? But he knew, right? Because he fought for them for a decade, thinking that they too didn't want slavery. But as soon as Leclerc got to Haiti, all those white people who were smiling in his damn face because he was part of the army and keeping England and Spain at bay, they joined with the French to kill him. So he had already experienced their perfidy. Alone, I face the wrath of this world powers. That's what we do today, Haitian. We are alone. There is no Cuba and Venezuela or anybody. We are alone, but they did it. And I promise you, I did not come here not to free Haiti. I was alone when in Vertières, I rose to face the devil. When hell broke loose, unleashing its firestorm with waves of flame rushing to engulf me whole, alone in the vast universe, I froze hell over and walked on its ashes to create my own history. Nobody stood by my side. I alone remember. It was the 18th day of a month called November. So no one's going to remember that Tuesday is going to be the 18th. But we do. We remember. Thank you, Kapwa Lamò. Let me, so as I was saying, let's go back to the map. And I already told you that some of the cavalry was used to gallop back to where Desalin is at the command post. So he told Philippe Daut and Paul Gabart to bring their forces, because at that time, Pierre Congé was also, I don't know if his name is there. Yes, I think so. Was at Champagne, right? Trying to push through to get to the entrance of the city gates. Okay, so he told Philippe Daut and Paul Gabart to go to Charrier because Charrier was the highest space, and Desalin always wants the highest space. Another lesson in Haitians: burn the port cities, go inside physically, right? Hayti, if you're hearing me. Also, spiritually, don't believe all you see and all you've been taught. Go inside. You deserve riches. You deserve to be a human being with dignity, able to take care of your family. Go inside and envision it. That's what Desalin was telling you. So he tells Daut and Philippe to move some of their men to Charrier and get up that mountain. Remember, they have to bring the artillery up that mountain, right? But in this case, they sent in the infantry to go fight hand-to-hand combat with the French at Charrier and get to that height. Okay, and that's what they did. Okay. In the meanwhile, Henri Christophe, after lugging his people all the way up these mountains, and now he's fighting at I think it's Saint Martin, right? He's fighting to get into cannon position to bombard the Cap-Haïtien. Okay. Let's see if I think I have a map. Okay, I'll find it. I have a map where I show, but you could see, right? He comes from the back of mountain and he's trying to get here. Okay. He gets there about 12 o'clock. But here you have thousands of people dying, right? Can't break this lock. Okay. And all these people dying, and Kapwa Lamò is still at the front of that line. Okay? Fighting. So Philippe Daut and a few more. I think Yahoo, yeah. Yaou. He was there too on that frontal offensive. Later on, he ends up, plotting with Christophe and Pétion and Boy to kill Desalin. But on this day, all my Haitians were together for one goal. And that goal has saved millions from slavery. And I mean that literally, right? Because the European was never going to stop it. Hayti taught them a lesson. But just like they're not going to stop their colonialism. And it's time we teach them a lesson, y'all. We need more Abraham Traorés, more Jean-Jacques Desalins. So it's raining, people. People are dying. There's so much at stake. But they know that that's what the African knows. That's why the land is so sacred in Haiti, right? Because we don't really have that many foreigners in the last 200 years whose ashes have remained in Haiti. So it's still us. We can call on our own DNA. It's still there, Haitien. Okay? Even though we had 13 horrendous years of UN soldiers and all their SHIT in our soil. It's very important. Okay, I will not say more. Let me move on to this. We're at noon right now. The battle only takes 11 hours from 4 in the morning to 5. And then we win. And then it's over. Let's see here. So I did the Christophe bombarding. All right. So guess what? Let me see what this is. Let me open this. I think it's supposed to be the northern bombardment. So now Henri Christophe has taken out those. Can you imagine, right? The French now are fighting on two fronts. Okay, that's what Desalin said we can never do. If you fight on two fronts, you will die. Okay, right now we're fighting on two fronts. We're fighting the core group, and inside the CPT and the FWAP kind of people, right? So now the French are fighting on two fronts. From their rear, you have seasoned General Henri Christophe. Like I said, the man has been a military since he fought in the American Revolution when he was 12. He came that day to kill Rochambeau. That's a fact. So he positioned, and Ferrou was in charge of the artillery, whatever you call that. Yeah, I think it's artillery. Position his guns. First of all, they had to fight a whole bunch of people. I just showed you. Okay, let me see if I can find that. I think I have another one. Come on. I hope this one. Is it this one? Vertières. I have one to no. Okay, not that one. So he finally gets to this den and this thing called Montlhéry. And honestly, I couldn't find it anywhere on the maps. Okay. I place it right there because it's described by Maggio, and it's described by one of my favorite Haitian historian, Vernet Lecomte, as the west of northwest of the city. So I put it right here, okay? But I couldn't find, so northwest, I would see, so if you're in Cap-Haïtien, this is your northwest. And anyways, at the bottom of this mountain, that's the plantation of Count D'Estaing is there. Okay, if you're looking for it, all right, but for the precise. But I give it to you right there, northwest. It had to be near enough and high enough so that they can bombard the city, Cap-Haïtien, okay? And that's what they did, okay? Genius plan of Jean-Jacques Desalin. And let me see if I can find that. Let me see. I have another, I hope it's here. The cannons are so small, I don't know if you could see them. Oh, there you go. Okay. So right up there, okay, I put cannons to show you that when Henri Christophe, there was another general. His name was Magny, Magny. That was part of, that was, did really good that day also. Okay, so Ferrou, I have their names here. I should have put Magny, but I just told you. Okay, so when he got here, he set up artillery here. He set up artillery here to get this. This is like right behind the French. So he took out, he's like taking them out from the back. Okay. And then he definitely took out, it says Vigie. And the reason I give you that story, some of you who are academics, because I love Lecomte and he's good. Vernet Lecomte. He said that Maggio was wrong. He said Vigie, which was like something in the coastal place here. He said that wouldn't have been in firing range of the Cap-Haïtien. Okay, so what's in fire? So that's why you see Vigie has like the I put those in quotation just not to confuse people because the history book says Vigie, but it really was like this mountain right here because he's coming from here. He's not going to go here on the coast. Okay, he's coming from the back, and his intention and goal is to get to Montlhéry. Okay, and it's from that Mon, which is the highest peak. Desalin always goes to the highest peak for those that are spiritual, that are understanding me. And then literal too, in this case. Okay, and then he starts bombarding them people in Cap-Haïtien. Oh my God, disorientating the whole city. Okay, because up to Vertières, these Neanderthals were having opera. They're going to the opera. They had killed 250,000 Africans, and they're going to the opera. Because remember, I told you, When the war started, there were 500,000 Africans, not counting the Maroons, which are, we don't know how many there were. Okay. I don't know. Okay. I've seen some numbers, but I don't, I think I saw someplace where it says 12,000, but they just guessing that from the ads people placed for Maroons. Really? Not everybody placed an ad, and Haitians have children in the wild. Anyways, so yeah, not counting what I just told you, the Maroons and the Haitians that were born free in the mountains in those little villages, I tell you, in the mountains. There were 500,000 human beings born in Africa who died fighting for freedom. Take that in, Africans. Take that in, human beings. Okay. And Leclerc came with his wife and her little whoring self. And these women, these aristocratic women were, they could tell a black man to do anything, and he had to. So, and so on. This is where we are. Okay. And this is what Vertières stopped. Okay. Gave us our dignity back as human beings. They came here, and you see the guns, right? So they're leaving guns right here. They're leaving people right here. And then they're going up here. They're going, they call it Vigie, right? But I put it in quotation mark because according to Haitian historian Vernet Lecomte, it's Saint Martin. They took that first. And then they took Batay Vètyè, all those mountains there. And then they got here, honey, they were bombarding. And Desalin, sitting on his Gwo Wòch over in Mont Calvaire, can see the smoke. So he's like, okay, let me send some people to just done. So he sends Daut and Clervaux and Vernet, because by that time they've taken Vertières. Okay, he sends them to Charrier. So now you have Vernet, Yahoo, Pierre Congé is on the other side, and then now you have Philippe Daut and his troops all converge on Charrier. Okay, because they're taking that out. So what happens, people? Okay. And let's see. I have a picture for you. I'm going to try to find it. Give me a second, Haïtien. Okay, look at that map while I'm talking. I'm going to, come on. Oops. All right. So, because I couldn't do this on video, because okay. So, Philippe Daut and those guys, hand-to-hand combat with the French, okay? Killing them and taking their weapons, moving up. Okay. It says I can only have, let me just remove this from the studio. I got to remove some pictures, y'all. Give me a second because it won't let me bring up another one. Remove. Whew. And so, let me remove this map. Okay, now I can probably bring something up. Present. So they let's see, Kapwa. Okay, so why do I have Kapwa there? I don't know. Let me see what this is. Okay, so Kapwa is on his horse. You guys, you'll see this when you return. I mean, when you record it, okay? So Kapwa is on his horse. This is representing Vertières, the place that's on fire, okay? The Philippe Daut and the others, Yahoo and all, they reach Charrier, okay? And they take the artillery that was bombarding them to smithereens, aim it at Vertières, hit a ammunitions depot, and that's all she wrote, folks. Okay, let me see. I gotta remove some stuff from my Thank you for being patient. From my so I can add the next photo, okay? Because this is the only way I thought I could do this right is to put the photos. There you go, Kapwa, right? Who lost his horse? Who kept saying all that, right? He's on foot. He keeps going. He never stopped, and now his soldiers have control of that fort because he was going between these Vertières and that stopped him, right? Okay, so you guys see that. Let me see. What is this one? Okay, I can take that off, remove it, and take it off so I can bring the other ones up. So now you have the greatest obstacle on that road, Charrier, has been blown up. Okay, and then I'm sorry. Now our guys, the soldiers of Desalin's army, control Charrier. It looks down at Vertières, right there. Okay, but Vertières is still protected by this Pierre Michel, right? And Champagne, right? I mean, we have another fort to go to before we get to Barrière Bouteille, which is Bel Air. Okay, but Desalin is sending in reinforcements, right? Okay, he sends in his like I said, now you have they take their breaks and they come right back at it. They're dying, friends are dying. Let's see what the next photo. So remember right here, this is okay, but you may not be able to see it, but there is a river that runs right in front of like Breda and all of these forts, right? It's like there's the road right here, and then behind it, there's a river that empties out into the ocean. It's called Okap River. So when Haitians took over Charrier um, and blew up that, but they're still soldiers, but now they're not in the building, right? They're right out there in the open and all that. Okay, but he killed some colonist slavers, definitely, and definitely killed them psychologically. What's his name? Rochambeau sends in this boat from up the river, right across from Charrier, to bombard the Philippe Daut and the others that are up there. Okay. Now remember I told you, right? Not going to find Haitians women anywhere, but we have always been marchand, right? Right? Because and they have barges and boats and right. I'm pretty sure I don't have this in their books, okay? But I would think if Desalin was orchestrating this magnificent, he would have known that he couldn't trust the English, and he would have brought his own because they countered that boat, got it out of the way, blew it. I don't know what they did with it, but it was neutralized because it's. I looked for it in Le Comte. I did not find it, or even in Maggio. So, and remember, like I said, those women, they were the ones going down the coast all the time, providing food for the army at the very places. And I'm going to pick my défilé, who had her own barge, and who followed Desalin's army everywhere. I have no reason to believe she wasn't there, and she didn't have her barge, and she didn't take care of that boat. I'm not saying it did happen, but I think it probably did. Okay. So when they're telling you about these women, you could say that. All right. So let me add something else to the screen. We're almost done, people. What time is it? We're almost done. If you have any questions, I'm going to go look as soon as I finish. Okay. Image. Where am I? We only have like a few more. Okay, you've seen that. So Kapwa Lamò sees that Vertières is blown up. Okay, next one's coming. Give me a, let's see here. What did I just do? Let's see. Okay. Image file. Come on, baby. Give me, all right. Oh my goodness. One more time. But you guys know how important Kapwa was. Now that Bichalier is in the hands of the freedom fighters, he is ready to charge up the road and get himself to where he's supposed to go since the morning, right? And honey, I guess that's what it happened. That's what happened. So there was a downpour. It was 5 o'clock. Monsieur Rochambeau was surrounded at all sides from the rear. Uh, he asked, he started, backing out his people into, you call it, Cap Haïtien, right? So he's backing them out to Cap Haïtien. And I think I'm good. What are you saying? Okay. So there's so they back him out to Cap Haïtien. Next day on the 19th, he asks for a what do they call it? Anyways, he capitulated. He surrendered and asked Desalin for 10 days to get out of the island. All right, y'all. I'm gonna put on some music while I read your comments. See if there's any questions you have. Thank you, Haru. I think that's guy Kweku. Hello, Gisi. Reza Relm. Thank you for being here. Speak the truth about Obama. Oh yeah, Maba Marina Ani calls it the rhetorical ethic. Yup. Thank you. Let's see. Do we know where Nana Suzanne's remains are? That's a fantastic question. I think she's still in Agen, France. She died in Agen, France. And I don't think anybody ever went and got her. You understand? Haitians, are you hearing this? Who are in France? This woman suffered too much. Let me see if I could. I'm gonna thank you for the question. Who gave me that question? Haru, thank you so much. That's something, we have so much to do, so much justice. Let me see if I could find that picture. It's called, let me see. Susan. It's Susan Louverture. So we're almost done, y'all. I'm going to look, and I can't look everywhere, but I will look at the comments on. Come on, give me Susan Louverture's. Okay. Let me see. Oh, these people were too much. They tortured that woman. Let me see. I'm going to show you. And then they had no sense. They put it in the newspaper and laughed about it. She was the first lady of Haiti. No, you guys. That just makes me want to work harder. I hope you too. Oh, Lord. Please share, okay? Because, for all this work, And we only have, I don't know. I'm gonna put a link into the chat for anyone who wants to come up. Okay, because we're almost done. I don't know if you're there, Jacques, or Baena, or anyone of my lovely, lovely friends. Let me see. Okay, so okay. How are you all, the people on Facebook? I don't know if I put this on Free Hayti Movement, but please, you guys, share and like this work. And yeah, my next one is gonna be in Creole for all you only Creole speakers. Why am I not able to add an image file? Okay. This is an actual an actual picture of them that they created laughing, that's in their French newspaper, as they tortured her. She's like on some elevated whatever table, and they've got screws. This is real. I had to look it up for you guys. So I say your name again, Marie-Suzanne Louverture. All right, people. I was only gonna do what? It's time to go. Let's see if I can. Let me see. Hi, Mario Goose. War drums are beating. We are not sad. We are full. Oh, what am I doing? I think I can put it up. I forgot. Sorry. Oh, thank you. Yeah, they were actually. All right, so I'm added. All right. Okay, people. Come on. I thought I add myself. So okay, well, I'm gonna just keep reading some of these comments. I was trying to add myself back on here. Okay. All right. All right. War, we are full of ancestral joy. Bring the war. We've been thinking about it. Okay. Hello, Fifth Element. How are you? Bien content là, oui. Merci que tu es venu. Bien content. So, mardi, novembre 18, on va faire une créole pour Joël Léon. Okay, the Rwanda president too. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Let's see. You can't post comment. I don't know what that means. All right, folks. I think I have everybody, and we've been here 2.5 hours. Um, I cannot fear death, for I am death. I like that one. Marla Marlo Goose. Yep, yep, yep. Ether, thank you for giving me these elements. I always like talking to try to get through this. Fifth element. Thank you. I good job. Thank you. Um, home talk. I knew someone was going to say that. I'm going to put this up because I knew it. Okay, because I did the last probably 5, 6 teachings in Creole. Where were you? You guys don't come. But I do have an English speaking audience also, and I decided that definitely I'm going to respect them this time because I did like I said I come back. What was your name? Reza Realm. Come back on Tuesday. It's not my platform, but I'm going to be doing one with Kawal Demisme and Joël Léon. This is really enlightening. I'm enjoying this class of yours. Thank you, Toussaint. Let me see. Okay, we're talking and we're listening. Thank you, Jerry Campbell. I appreciate it. I thank you. Um, it was a battle cry. I don't know. Okay, yeah, it was. It was. It was. Hi, Sheila. How you doing? How's the family? Thanks for stopping by. Much obliged. This is an amazing body of work, providing us with a visual illustration. Yes, and then I went into StreamYard and it was giving me trouble. But I was like, no matter what happens, I'm going to do this today. This was super legit work. Please give us some books if you can. Yeah, you know what? I'm writing the book. I don't. I like Leconte Vernet. He's one of the early writers. Um, and you can really read anything as long as you know who you are. There is some I could say don't read because they're going to make you feel really bad about yourself, about being Haitian, because they won't explain what I just explained. Um, Let me see. Maybe I'll be able to give you one. I'll think about it because I take this very seriously. Haitian history is my passion. Um, what made Haiti agree to pay France? I told you they took Desalin was no longer there, right? And Henri Christophe and Pétion had split the island in two. And then you had the French sending in spies and folks to say to each one of them, if you go back into slavery, I'll give you like your own island, some crap like that. But like that, like they were trying to buy them, okay? But eventually, they sent a warship, and Pétion blanked. It wasn't Pétion, Boyer. So that's where we are. Okay, since I put the link and I don't see anyone, I think we're good, people. All right. So thank you so much for coming. November 18th, was so important. You could see that our warriors knew what they were doing. They outflanked, they not flanked. They had a rear guard, and there was just no way. I just explained it to you. If you read their books, they would say things like, I always prepare over and over again, even though I've been doing this for 21 years. And I read a chapter on Vertières by some guy from Guadeloupe, who keeps writing about Haiti so that he could be like the modern day Dubroca. And he said, well, even though they blew up the munitions, they hadn't won yet. And, they maybe could have won. How could they have won with Christophe at their backs? Ferrou at their backs, bombarding. Okay, they had to ask for a ceasefire to go back into Kapwa. And the British were not, Desalin was literate, people. Okay, I know they say he wasn't literate. I want to, the best that I've ever found that is supposed to be in their archive is an ordinance that you can find in, I'm going to try to do that last if I can. I don't know. My computer is saying we need to go. But let me see if I can find that ordinance. Let me see. Ordinance. I'm going to search my computer. If I can find it, I'll show it to you. All right. So they always like paint Desalin as being illiterate, and Bois wrote everything for him. Of course, he's a general. He delegates. That was Bois job. But Desalin wrote that 1805 Constitution, which is our certificate of existence. And I do that I do the 1805 Constitution on May 20th because we don't celebrate the Patron's flag. And all these Haitians are wrapping around them. I mean, these guys killed Desalin. All right, so let me see. What is it called? What could I say? Let me see. The author where I found this. Let me see if I could find it. And then I'll share it with you. Okay. All right. Okay. I think I can do that. How can I do that? How can I do that? Let me see if I can show you an ordinance. I just like this a lot because in all their books, right, some European woman just wrote a biography of Jean-Jacques Desalin. Of course, I sent her that ordinance, but it's not in her book. She gave Desalin a whole new family and said he was a slave to Toussaint Louverture. You'd think that, I mean, you know, Toussaint Louverture would have said something, or Desalin would have said something to someone in his living years. That's why I'm not going to recommend. But I have 21 years of teachings, and I don't know if I'm going to have the energy anymore to do more. What made Haiti agree? Okay, I think I answered your question. What's his name blinked because, you know, like I said, they came back with I think it was like 300 ships. They said they're going to blow them to smithereens. Okay, I don't know where or how. Let me see. Can you see that ordinance? Okay, it's in Jacques Alexis' book, and it says here, and you guys can look for it. I've been looking for it, and I've written to the archives of France and I sent it to them. They have not answered me. But it's in this archive, right? It says Ordonnance Les Salines, and I think that's why maybe the people didn't find it, because it's talking about salt works at first. These clerks that deal with salt works. I don't know if that's like a code for spies or what that is. But what's important is says that this surpopectus unique indique le départ de l'esclave Jean-Jacques Desalin, charpentier et lettre pour les plantations à l'intérieur de terre and an agiteur. You guys can read this. Rebelle qu'il faut surveiller. So, and there's another piece here. All right, verifying this piece. Okay. I told the people writing a biography about Desalin that there's proof in their archives that he can read, that he was a highly skilled person. He was a carpenter, and that they knew who he was before 1791. This ordinance is dated. You guys can see the date, 26 May. Honestly, you're not gonna you get their books and they're gonna tell you he was a savage because he killed his enemies. Because obviously, you know, our lives means nothing. 250,000 people dead don't mean nothing. Prisoners, thousands upon thousands, definitely more than 3,000. I don't have the numbers, okay? But I think it was Clervaux. That's the thing that hurts my heart about Clervaux. They killed not only his brother Jacques and his whole entire family and drowned them, like 1,200 people in that bay. And why isn't that bay a monument? Why isn't there a monument from all the ones they drowned? They used to put them on boats out there and close the hot hatch and put sulfur to suffocate them. This is way before Hitler did it. All right, my last thing. I just wanted to give credit for this ordinance and where I found it to Jacques Alexis. His book is called The Prophet. Okay, you can whoever asked me about a book, there you go. Okay, get that book. Get anything written by Annabello. I think that's really, I can't really recommend anything else right now. Okay, not that there isn't out there. It's just like not coming to my head. All right, you guys, leaving you with Kapwa Lamò. Thank you very much. Let me see. What is this? We have the very careful with our source of information. Yeah, that's why I just don't say, because some of them, like I said, you can. There is another good. Oh, I know another good book. I like her. She's European, but she's very good. Oh my God, Carolyn Fick, Fick. It's an old book from back. There's not been a woman that's done the type of work she's done. She's really good. It's called The Making of Hayti, and it of course, you know. Oh, now that I'm thinking about it, Jean Casimir's book is good about the Maroons. He looks all the ads and he writes his book that way. Jean Casimir is good. Yeah, you can start there, and of course, read Èzili Dantò. All right, let's say goodbye. Peace to everybody. I'm gonna swing by one more time to the where is that? Take care, everyone.
Simbi Gwo Wòch yo mare ki nan nou yo pou yal van lot bot glo. Mwen sa monte 7 fois mwen même pas brale. Mwen sa monte 7 fois mwen pas brale oh.
So do all that you're supposed to do. Okay, I don't want to see 100 people watching this. Okay, that would be nice to encourage us to continue giving you this work. I